And she wants to see you all too, so I'm going to turn on the camera. Good. So CHI2022ForumShivaniJain is a wellness entrepreneur, investor, yoga practitioner, and new mom. As a strong advocate for an active, nutritious, and balanced life, she believes wellness begins with the simple step of self-awareness of our mind and body and following its cues. In 2014, Shivani and her husband co-founded CHI2022, a health and wellness company focused on building beautiful and effective fitness solutions that are approachable for people of all ages, abilities, and lifestyles. As Chief Marketing Officer at CHI2022, she led brand strategy, consumer research, and experience marketing and direct-to-consumer sales for 8 years. CHI2022 was included in the Inc. 500's fastest growing companies in the USA for 2 consecutive years, 2019 and 20. Deloitte's top 500 fastest growing companies in the US in 2020, and ranked second in Inc.'s top fastest growing companies in Chicago, also in 2020. Finally, in 2020, CHI2022 partnered with Gridiron, a private equity firm, to further scale and grow the business. Shivani is passionate about building, supporting, and investing in mission-driven consumer brands, and always looking to connect with fellow entrepreneurs in the space. She has been named one of Inc. magazine's top 100 female founders, Business Insider's top 8 women under 30 to watch, Crane's Business Chicago top 20 in their 20s, and won Entrepreneur of the Year in the Midwest in 2020. So with that, please welcome CHI2022ForumShivaniJain.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Robert. Hi, everybody. I'm Shivani, as Robert said. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person. Kudos to Robert for setting this up last minute, getting everything up and running virtually. I really, really appreciate it. You know, it's the world we're living in, so sorry I couldn't be there in person again. So glad to be here. Before we kick off, Robert, I just had one quick question. Would you like me to share my screen and pull up the presentation, or do you have it pulled up already on the screen?
It would be good if you could share it from yours. I think that'll be a better way to go. That way you can flow through them the way you'd like to.
Awesome. Give me a second. Great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Go ahead and go in slideshow mode. Okay. Awesome. So for the time that we have together, really the goal for today is I'd love to take you all through my journey, through our journey, through CHI2022, how we got started with the company, how we came up with the idea, what we learned along the way, some of the challenges we had, how we navigated them, some of the learnings, and of course, just now what's going on, how we're trying to navigate this new world that we live in. I want to keep my section very sort of crisp and short, and then really wanted to sort of open it up, dive into questions, really so that we can make it more interactive. That's usually the best, so we can focus on areas that are most intriguing to all of you. So to kick it off, what is CHI2022? CHI2022, helps health hurdlers take the first step in their fitness journey. What that means is really our company is designing these fitness products that help people take that first step, really go from 0 to 1. That's the mission of the company. The first product that we had launched with, it's this elliptical trainer. It's a compact seated elliptical, can fit under a desk, fit in front of a couch. And the idea is that you can sit and still move, still get your heart rate up, still get your blood flowing. A little bit about me. I think I'm not going to spend too much time on this since Robert sort of introduced, give a quick background. But again, I'm Shivani. I grew up in India, as you can already probably tell from my accent. Came to Chicago about 13 years back to study. Met my husband, my co-founder, in school at University of Chicago, where we were both undergrads. This business, CHI2022, actually came out of University of Chicago. Right after we graduated, we came up with this idea and we decided to pursue it full time. Fast forward, also a new mom. As you can see, we have a 10-month-old. You're probably going to hear her in the background as well. So if you hear loud screams, that's her. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Just roughly sort of some of the things we'll be covering today as I go through the presentation, just how we found this problem that we're addressing through QB, how we went about validating the idea initially, just some of the lessons we've learned around listening to our consumers and all the invaluable lessons we learned from that. And then lastly, just talking through the world we live in and how we've navigated this new normal. So when did it all start? It all started when the three of us co-founders, we decided to take part in this competition. It's a business competition held by the Booth School of Business. It's called the New Venture Challenge. And we had this entrepreneurial itch. We were in our last years in college, and we were like, what, let's take part in this business competition. Let's come up with this idea and let's pitch it. And we ourselves were experiencing this pain point where we were sitting a lot. We had done internships, we had done like jobs before, and we were commuting an hour, 2 hours every day back in that time. And when we got back home from work, we just weren't motivated to move or go to the gym or be active. So really the idea was that how do we get people moving while they're sitting, while they're at work, while they're multitasking. So that's when we came up with this idea for this compact seated elliptical. These are some of the original sort of concepts and 3D renderings of the product. We made it so it's compact, fits under a desk, it's ergonomics, you can sort of sit upright and get moving and get your heart rate up. We also connected it to a mobile app, so it has Bluetooth, just to give people feedback, what they're doing. We can measure their progress, connect with a larger community. At that time, Fitbit and some of these fitness trackers had just started picking up. So everybody was sort of really excited about just tracking their health and getting more feedback back. After we had the initial idea, for us, number one, we were fresh college grads with not a ton of savings. Number two, we wanted to make sure we truly validated the idea in the market, right? I mean, is this something that we're just making up in our heads? And how do we truly validate that there's a need for it? So we turned to crowdfunding. We launched a campaign on a platform called Kickstarter. And not sure how familiar you guys are with crowdfunding, but just a quick summary, it's essentially a way to reach early adopters and get early adopters to back you. Essentially, they're pre-ordering your product. So they put down a certain amount, they pre-order your product, and then they want to be part of that journey as you go about development, manufacturing, design, and that entire process. These truly are your early adopters. We launched a campaign in Kickstarter. This was back in June 2014. Made a very sort of hacked a prototype and took that to the campaign. Our initial goal when we launched the campaign was $80,000. And in a matter of 6 weeks, we actually ended up raising close to $300,000. So it was around 3.5 times our goal. One of the good things was it was picked up by different PR outlets. So we were covered by a broad range of sort of local, regional, national newspapers and blogs, and it went viral. And we were sort of over the moon that this actually truly validated the idea. But honestly, more so than that, what we were excited about was we had these 1,000 backers that truly believed in the mission of what we were trying to do, and they were willing to support us and give us feedback. And even till date, these are the people that we turn to when we want feedback, when we want ideas for what we should do next, or when we want them to try our new prototypes or new products and new innovations that we're working on. So it truly gave us this sort of treasure trove of early adopters who truly believed in our mission. So after, during the Kickstarter campaign and after our first shipment, one of the smartest decisions that we made was we included our personal phone number in every single box that's shipped to consumers. Our idea was, we want to hear from them, whether it's good stuff, whether it's bad stuff. So as you can see from this postcard, literally it was our personal cell number. I don't even think we were smart enough to mask it with a Google Voice number. At that point, it literally was our personal phone number. And what ended up happening was we started to get all these calls from consumers, right? They were saying that QB, has been something that's really opened a door for them that was previously closed. It's been helping in their mobility. It's helped them walk. It's helped them, reverse that downward sort of health trend. It's helped them recover from rehabilitation. We started to get these letters, as you can see. We started to get postcards, all these different postcards flooding through our offices. We started to get phone calls. We dove into a lot of the reviews that we were getting on, channels that we were selling on, whether that's QVC, our website, our Facebook community. And one of the biggest revelations from all of this consumer feedback was that our consumer was very different than what we had in mind when we had first launched the product, right? That's something you've probably heard happens with a lot of new companies, a lot of startups that are just starting out, that the actual consumer, the person that's benefiting from your product, tends to be very different than the person that you had in your mind. And for us, the difference was our hypothesis initially was this is for somebody that's already active, that's just sitting, right? And does not have time to work out, does not have time to move. But our actual customer was this, group that we call the health hurdler. These are people that, are just looking for a safe, effective, and accessible way to take that first step in their health journey, right? Maybe they are, in rehabilitation from a knee surgery or a hip replacement surgery. Maybe they have arthritis. Maybe they have recently had a stroke. Maybe they're overweight and they just don't know where to start, right? And the other revelation was that if you look at this chart here, most of the fitness companies that are out there are not talking to these consumers, right? If you think of the traditional fitness companies like Life Fitness and Precor, or even if you think of some of the newer fitness companies like Peloton and Mirror, and you look at their marketing message, you look at who they're talking to, they're really targeting somebody who's already relatively fit, I'd say, and helping them get more fit, helping them get more healthy. But there's this huge gap of a majority of people in the US who actually just don't know where to start. They're looking for something to just take that first step. So that was sort of this big aha moment for us in the company. And, as a result of that, we sort of completely changed, as you can see, even our tagline. Our tagline used to be work out while you work. And it moved from that and it became just QB helping health builders take that first step in the fitness journey. It became really more about just active sitting and, just taking that first step so that you can build more healthy habits and reverse that cycle. Through that journey, we of course validated, the efficacy of the products. We've done a bunch of clinical studies with orthopedic surgeons, with physical therapists to further optimize the product and to make sure that it's actually having, good results and it's safe to use. And what's been really, really exciting has been to see that it actually helps people in their recovery journey, right? Whether it's pre-rehabilitation before somebody gets a surgery, it's after surgery through the rehab process. And honestly, now through COVID, so many people, so much of just health and wellness is on the individual's hands, and people, don't want to go to PT clinics. They, or even if they do, like the PT, the physical therapists want them to sort of exercise and comply and do all of these things at home, but they don't know how to do it. And I think you'll be really enable that. So where are we today? Our original product was this elliptical trainer that we launched. And of course, we've completed the line. We're actually going to be launching a product with upper body resistance bands as well, just based on consumer feedback that we've heard over the years that they want something that they can do for their upper body. We're also growing into, just different fitness categories, whether that's through accessories, through, one of the products that we're excited to launch is a manual treadmill later this year, which we're super passionate about. We've also expanded into just more content, right? Because again, our consumers, they really are looking for that guidance, that education on how do they integrate more movement in their daily lives. So that's another area that we launched during COVID. And lastly, we're going into resilience and recovery through vibration plates and other products. During COVID, not going to spend too much time on this, but I think one of the things that we tried to do was really focus on going above and beyond for our consumer base. I think we were in a unique area where our consumers were the ones that were most vulnerable. They were the ones most affected because these are people that are active agers. They, as we like to call them, rehab rock stars, right? These are people that were most affected. They were not able to go out. Their lives were, just 360 degrees affected by the pandemic, right? They were most at risk. So we actually launched I think we put this together in like a week. We launched something that we now call Studio Plus, where we launched a subscription service, live stream classes. Throughout the pandemic, we actually offered all of these classes completely free of cost, just because the goal was to keep these people motivated, to keep them active during these years where they're not able to go out, they're not able to go to their church to do their regular activity that they used to do, they're not able to go to the gym, they're not able to go to the physical therapist necessarily. So, how do we make sure that they have this guided instruction, even if they don't buy our product, to move more during just during the day at home safely? Now this program is actually turned into a full-blown subscription service, with growing members. So we're super excited that this turned into that. Secondly, we actually sort of went into senior living homes. We donated over 2,500 QBs to senior living homes during the pandemic, again, just to make sure that we are doing our part to help our consumers be more active, especially at a time where they're most vulnerable, which was during the pandemic. One of the mantras that we have at QB has been just this idea of doing good while doing well. Really, that's what keeps all of us motivated. It keeps all of us excited. The fact that, whatever we're doing every day, it's just not for ourselves. It truly is serving a purpose beyond that, and it's helping somebody in their health and wellness journey. So, just sort of to end this part of the presentation, really for us, part of each of these sections, just finding the problem. What was important for us was really, what do we care about? What is the purpose? What is the change that we hope to see? When we validated the idea, it's really about, do other people care about this product as well? Listening to the consumers, again, I think for us, it was always about just not getting married to, the product or the idea or this vision that we had in our head, and be willing to sort of be agile and adapt and really truly listen to the consumers and what they're telling us. And lastly, in this navigating the new normal, I think one of the things we've realized is that really knowing your purpose, the company's purpose, the product's purpose, your purpose, making sure that you follow that, reinforce that, and really sort of harnessing the core strengths of our business has helped us survive during COVID. For us as a fitness product, you all must have sort of read some of the recent articles about Peloton in the fitness industry. During COVID, it had this huge bump. Even we saw a rise in sales. There was a lot happening, lots of new shiny opportunities. But then now, as things are normalizing, we're seeing things come back to pre-pandemic levels, right? Which is a big adjustment for us. So it is a hard time because nobody really knows what to expect. There's a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knows how behaviors are going to change. And for us, what we're really focusing on is making sure we are truly focused on the consumer, that we know how to resonate with, our products resonate with them, and really just harnessing that versus trying to sort of go after new opportunities in a state of panic. So I think that's really something that has helped us navigate just all the uncertainties over the last 2 or 3 years. Awesome. So just with that, wanted to open it up to Q&A. Please shout out any questions that you have. I think Robert mentioned he's going to be taking some of these questions, but this was just a quick snapshot of our journey over the last 7 years.
Good. Questions? We'll start here with Bob.
My question really is, you talked about a lot of positives. Talk about the lessons learned in terms of things that might have gone wrong along the way, and what you could share with our CEOs, business owners, etc., about how you overcame some of those.
Did you get that,
Robert, would you
Shivani?
mind? Yes, I did. I got bits and pieces of that. Would you mind just repeating that, Robert? That would be great.
Yeah. So basically, Bob said you went through a lot of the positives and the growth and all that sort of thing. He asked if you would mind sharing a couple of maybe lessons learned and kind of some struggles that you had to work through during this journey over the last couple of years that the other business owners in the room might be able to learn from.
Absolutely. There were lots and lots of them. So, one of the first obstacles for us, as young entrepreneurs, I'd say it was very, very hard for us initially to raise any money to even manufacture the product and to bring it to life, right? We were young college grads, so we didn't have a lot of credibility behind us. We didn't have a ton of savings of our own to put into the business either. And it was just really, really hard, especially as a hardware company, to raise money just to get the business off the ground, right? That actually led us to turn to crowdfunding, to turn to all of these secondary sources to be able to actually manufacture and bring the idea to life. Even after that, one of the biggest challenges in the company was making the company sustainable. So I think, over the years, what's happened is a lot of times companies, they focus on their next round, especially some of the newer VC backed companies are focusing on that next round. They're raising money, they're growing really fast. But what might sometimes get lost in that is just the business fundamentals of how do you build a sustainable business. Because we weren't able to raise a lot of money, it actually was a blessing in disguise for us because we actually had to focus on making that business sustainable. There was one time that, again, we had still not turned a profit. This was in our 3rd year of operation. And we literally cut down all advertising, all digital advertising that we had. And just so that we can see what truly is effective, what's working, what's not working, and layer it on from there. It was a hard decision at that point. And literally in 2 months, once we identified what was working versus what was just money that was going down the drain, we were able to turn a profit and we were sustainable. And that just helped us sleep better at night. So again, I think for us, it was around, yes, we should raise external money in order to invest in growth, but it should not come at the cost of making a business that can stand on its own 2 feet and can keep the lights on. The second, big lesson, my primary role at QB, the areas that I was overseeing most were marketing and sales. And one of the big lessons for us was that it is very easy to get caught up in just what's trendy, right? What are the new trendy marketing channels that we should be spending money on? So we got sort of caught up in this herd mentality of, hey, you know what, let's go and let's launch all these digital campaigns on Instagram and on Facebook and all of these different things, and let's talk to our consumers that way. And what ended up happening was we ended up wasting a lot of money because we did not think about how did our consumer purchase? How do they make decisions to purchase something like this, which is not an impulse purchase, it is a considered purchase? Where do they shop? Where do they get their information from? How do they educate themselves? And we just sort of followed the herd just because everybody was launching these campaigns on digital social channels. At that point, we sort of ended up wasting a lot of money on that. So again, I think after this lesson learned, then as we started to think about our consumer, that's when we actually reached out to QVC, right? And we launched our product through QVC because we realized that our consumer wants to be educated around their pain point. They want to be talked through their purchase. And these are people that are, mostly women, in their 50s and above, and QVC was the perfect channel to reach them. Similarly, we ended up advertising actually through, slightly elevated infomercials and going through TV, just because our consumers best, educate themselves and buy products through TV. We even actually had call centers where they can call to place their orders, just because that's what they feel comfortable with. They don't feel comfortable with placing orders online. So again, I think for us it was around, okay, the big lesson learned was, let's not just follow what everybody else is doing just because it's cool, new, and sexy. Let's truly understand what is relevant and appropriate for our consumer.
Good. Someone over here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's fascinating. So tell me, 2 things. One, where you manufacture your product and how you found them. But then, as much or more importantly, how can we all buy it? I mean, if we're not going to watch QVC, where can we buy your product? Can we just go on your website? Where do we get it?
Okay, so two-part question, Shivani. One, the first part was where did you source your manufacturing from? So that's part one. And then part two is, aside from QVC, where can consumers go to purchase items from QB?
Got it. Awesome. So in terms of manufacturing, we manufacture, the product is designed and developed in Chicago. We partnered with a product development company actually in the suburbs based in Lake Zurich here in Chicago. The manufacturing is all done overseas in China. We actually had explored manufacturing in the US and other sort of just to have a little bit more control over it. But to be honest, the cost was through the roof, and at that point it was not sustainable. So right now everything is done overseas in China. Our software development, on the other hand, is we have an in-house team here in Chicago, and then we also have an outsourced team based in India. So some of the software development is done as a combination of our team in Chicago as well as our team in India. In terms of where you can buy the products, it is now sort of available just across a lot of channels. You can of course buy on our website. We actually are in all Target stores nationwide, so you can definitely head to your local Target store and you can find our product there. You can buy it on Amazon. Amazon has been, again, a really, really promising channel for us. If you're looking to just compare different products, our website would have all the models, but if you're looking for some specific models, then you can turn to some of these other channels.
Great. On that, you had one, and then I'll come back up to Steve.
Just to get back to manufacturing, the idea is wonderful, but the challenges of sourcing manufacturing, building all the inventory, taking a company from zero to I don't know what it should go through, what purpose it has.
Yeah, okay. So the question here is kind of back on the manufacturing side. Once you kind of sourced that, after you got past the sourcing part, how did you build inventory? What struggles, what hurdles did you have to jump to actually, as a new company, get, kind of ramp up manufacturing and sourcing and building inventory?
Got it. So just to clarify the question, is it when you're talking about struggles in building inventory, are you sort of curious more about just the financial aspect of it and cash flow management, or more sort of the supply chain and logistics side of things?
I think it's more on the financial side.
Okay, got it. Awesome. So in terms of what happened after we were able to source our products, again, I think it was very, very challenging. Number one, I don't know if I mentioned this, but none of us on the team at that time were engineers or designers, right? So I studied economics. So did my co-founder and husband. He studied economics as well. Our third co-founder was a biology major. So number one, we had a steep learning curve because we didn't know what we were doing. That said, I think it was actually a little bit of a blessing in disguise for us, because we ended up sort of questioning the norm, just not sort of going with how things were done, but really take a fresh approach to things. In terms of what happened next, we actually ended up spending close to 4 to 5 months of the year in China. Number one, first finding factories that would work for us, right? Because we didn't have a lot of networks. So we were able to connect somebody who works with all these different fitness manufacturers and fitness factories, and he literally took us from one factory to the other. I think at the end of it, we had seen about 20 factories just to find that perfect partner for us. Because again, I think one of the challenges we experienced in that stage was we didn't want to work with a factory that was too small, that would not be able to scale with us, or that did not have some of the mechanisms of quality control and some of those very basic systems set in place for machinery. But the second part of it was we did not want to work with a factory that was too big either, because one of the things we realized was it was just so hard to get their mind share, right? And as non-engineers, without a team of product designers in our own company, we were really partnering and relying on collaborating with our factories to even optimize the product, to really make it sort of cost efficient to manufacture at scale. So again, I think that was something that was a challenge initially, and then we were able to find a factory that was, mid-market, that had, some basic sort of systems and processes in place, but at the same time, they were not huge. So we were an important client for them. In terms of, building up inventory and the financial side of that, I mean, I won't lie, it was really, really hard because we were not able to get any lines of credit from banks either, because the company did not have any history, any credibility, right? So we, that's what we used some of the initial sort of number one, the Kickstarter money. So we had about 350,000 from that. Number two, what we did was we actually launched the product again, just to take pre-orders on our own website. So over a year, we had another $160,000 or $180,000 that we got from pre-orders. And we sort of funneled that towards just our first production run and our second production run. The third thing, we actually ended up raising around $500,000 in friends and just from friends and family, from angel investors. Again, for a hardware company, that's still not enough. It was, barely enough, but it just helped us at least get those first two production runs out there. And then lastly, as we were sort of managing inventory, as we were, especially as we started to work with retailers, initially we were just focused on e-commerce and on Amazon on our website. And I think that was really helpful to us because we were not operating according to deadlines of QVC or retailers, right? And some of their payment terms tend to be, 4 months, 6 months out. Initially, for the first 2 years, we were only selling through our website and through Amazon. So that immensely helped because every sale we made, we got the cash upfront right there. And of course, we had high margins. So that really helped us survive. So we intentionally held off on going to retail, partnering with third-party sellers, going to sellers such as QVC for the first 2 years. After 2 years, once the business had some credibility, had some financial track record, then we were able to get some lines of credit. Again, not from banks. We were actually able to partner with some supply chain companies. So our freight forwarder that helped us deliver our freight from China to the US, they actually helped us with some lines of credit against purchase orders from retailers. So that's another way we were able to build up inventory.
Good.
I hope that answers your question. Is there anything else that you'd like me to touch on?
I think that took care of that one, and we'll do, I think, one more. Steve, I thought you had one. Oh, we got two more. Okay, Steve, real quick.
Can you walk us through the thought process you went through when you decided to bring on private equity? And what was that tipping point when you decided to dilute yourself to bring on that process?
So the question is, what guided your decision to take private equity money? Kind of how did you get to that point? What was the tipping point, the decision process there?
Yes, good question. So for us, one of the biggest decisions, I guess there was two reasons why we turned to private equity. Number one was, we needed that fresh batch of capital again, just to sustain that growth in the company. The company was self-sustainable, but again, to truly sort of scale the company and focus on innovation, right? New products, some of the things that you're seeing, they don't immediately pay off. So we needed sort of that capital just to take us to that next stage of going from a one product company to a brand, right? So that really helped us, partner with private equity. And the second and more important reason, honestly, was to instill the discipline, right? The financial discipline, some of the processes, some of the structures, some of those foundations of running a business, which comes with, a formal investment of private equity or of venture capital. Because to be honest, we were super young, we were hustling, we were moving fast. We've always sort of been in go-go mode. And sometimes what gets left behind is some of these, some of that discipline, some of those structures, some of those, basics, which is important for a healthy business that is growing and that has aspirations to grow. So again, we knew that we didn't have that expertise, neither did we have that experience. So we wanted to bring somebody who's been there, who's done that, who has partnered with companies and taken them through that evolution in their growth stage and instill some of those, financial disciplines and even sort of open up the networks for us as we were outgrowing our current suppliers, our current 3PL logistic partners, and all of these different things, right? So I think it was just the right step given the evolution of the company.
Great. And we got time for one more.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is how you got all these reviews and influencers to speak about and promote your product, because you're all over the place. It's pretty amazing. So I'd love for you to speak on that.
So the question basically is, how have you gotten such a good following, a review network? What processes did you use to kind of get that? Because the comment was made from the person that asked the question is, she sees you guys everywhere. So how did you kind of drum up that kind of that social presence and the good reviews and get people to kind of evangelize, if you will, for you?
It's a good question, and for us, I mean, firstly, it is first and foremost, it starts with the products, right? The products and, really sort of going above and beyond in every single thing to make sure the consumer is not just satisfied, you're not just meeting their expectation, but they're blown away, right? So I'll give you a simple example. One of the things that we did, and it's very small, was in every QB box that we used to ship, every elliptical box, we included a really, really nice Phillips screwdriver, right? It's really professional looking screwdriver to assemble the product. And the product, by the way, has it's like 5 seconds of assembly, right? You have to literally like just screw in like 4 screws, just the pedals on. So it didn't need a Phillips screwdriver to be in the box, and consumers don't expect it, right? But this little thing, I mean, I think 90% of the consumers that called us told us that they were just so excited that we included a simple thing like a really nice screwdriver in the box, right? So I think one of the things was really sort of going above and beyond in that consumer experience and delivering that stellar consumer experience. Of course, in a sustainable way, in a cost-effective way, but really sort of going above and beyond on that. And I think secondly, one of the other things that we did was we created this community on Facebook. It's a, one of the things we know is that our consumers on Facebook more so than other channels. So it's a closed QB community of ambassadors, consumers, evangelists, all of these people, just providing them that safe space to connect with each other. And after that, we sat back. We did not try to over curate that group or moderate it or really impose, sort of what we want to say on that group, but we really let the consumers sort of drive the conversations that were happening there. And that group has turned into sort of powerhouse because now people are connecting, sharing their goals. They're even giving us product ideas. They're giving us feedback. It truly is probably one of the most valuable things in the company is that closed consumer Facebook group that we turn to anytime we want sort of consumer feedback, right? And again, having that balance of facilitating that, but also then leaving it sort of organic and not over curating or over managing that. I think that balance was important to us. In terms of the reviews as well, some of the small tactical things that we did are, of course, we ask that people share their feedback and write reviews for us. If you don't ask, you don't get it. So definitely ask. I think the best place to ask it is in the product itself when they're buying the product. So I think that really helped us. Now, one thing we've started to do is just, giving them sort of, hey, if you reach out to us, then, we're gonna sort of invite you and you're gonna get the special t-shirt or the special thing. So I think that helped us as well. But honestly, I think more than the perks, it was delivering an experience that goes above and beyond. It is asking for the review, and it's really creating that community of people so they can connect with each other, because that's when they become evangelists. It's not because of the brand, it's because they connect with each other.
Great. Well, I think that is all the time we have for Shivani. So this worked out, I think, as best as it could have. So Shivani, I thank you for being committed to being with us, even if it was virtually. So thank you very much for your time this morning.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Again, sorry I could not be there in person, but it was lovely being here. And you can always feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or or my email if you ever want to connect.
Great, we will do that. Thanks so much, Shivani.